As parents, we want our kids to come to us, not TikTok, for tough topics. That's why we at Nurtured First built body safety and consent.
Inside this course, you'll get short, real-life scripts for using body terms, practicing consent, teaching your kids a no secrets and only happy surprises rule, and helping kids notice when they have an uh-oh feeling. Everything's broken down by age, from baby, toddler, to early elementary.
Start today at nurturedfirst.com/body safety and use the code ROBOTUNICORN to save 10%. And just for full disclosure, this is our course.
Welcome to Robot Unicorn, hosted by my parents, Jess and Scott. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
The reason I wanted to talk about this topic, let's just start there. So we were recently home with our children for an extended period of time. And our 3-year-old, I will say, had moments of being very clingy to me and also sometimes to you. Mm-hmm. And I found myself like a visceral, like almost like a bristle reaction, just like, get off me. Like, it's too much. I'm overstimulated. Stop clinging on me. And also, I felt like her tantrums were just a little bit extra, which made sense. We were out of routine, all the reasons we'll talk about today.
And you were all sick.
And we were all sick. So she was also not feeling good. She kept reminding us that she wasn't feeling good. And I think being the youngest of 3, sometimes she does have to be a little bit louder, a little bit more like vocally needy in order to get that attention that she wants. And I also think that's part of why she's such a goofball, because she has to up the ante a little bit in order to get attention sometimes, which is not a great thing, but it's just the reality of there's just a lot of people in the house.
Yep.
But I noticed about myself that I really had to bring myself back to the basics of why are kids so clingy and how can I help her? Because I was getting just kind of caught up in feeling frustrated and just wanting her to kind of get off me. And so I thought, if I'm feeling this way, and this is my life's work of talking about children and what they need and how to support them, then I'm imagining a lot of other parents are feeling that way when their child is clingy.
Yep.
And so this episode, my vision for it really was, how can we just be reminded of the basics, like why are kids so clingy, and think of some strategies to help us and to help the kids when they're like that.
Well, let's just start with then, why are kids so clingy sometimes? The biggest question there.
Yeah. Let's just dive right into it.
Well, is it even a problem that you have to solve?
Clinginess?
Yes. I get it's a reality of being a parent, but I just feel like over the holidays, it's easy to figure out what was wrong. We were out of routine. You and all 3 girls were sick. So especially when the girls are sick, they end up being clingy. That's just how they are. They want to just be with someone safe. I kind of get it. I understand what they're doing. So I feel like episode is over. Like, we figured it out. Is it even a problem that we have to solve?
I think you are asking that from a very evolved perspective of understanding children, understanding their development.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And understanding why clinginess happens. So great. You've already come to the solution that we're hoping to get people to. But I also want you to think of it from a different perspective. Let's say you don't have all this background information and you're just Scott, just a dad, you don't have any of this information. And you're seeing your child and you're all home together as a family. You're all just sitting around watching a movie or playing, and you see yourself, you go to the kitchen, you're going to make something, and your child's just like this little caboose and you're the train, and they're just like following you everywhere, clinging, whining, crying. And all you're seeing is that exact moment where you're like, our whole family's here. You have everything you could ever want. Why are you clinging and crying and hanging on to me?
Yeah.
I'll be there in 10 seconds. Just wait. It's logical, right? So I think you're viewing it, you're like, problem solved. She's out of routine, she's tired, whatever, she's hungry, she was just sick. That's a great perspective to have. But I think the majority of people aren't looking bigger picture. They're looking in that exact moment, being like, my child's safe, they have everything they need, we're all home together. So why in the world do they have to follow me around the house crying? There's no reason. It's not logical. Because I think a lot of people still are approaching children from this unrealistic expectation that they should just be logical and understand that their life is great and there's no reason to be sad.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like the reason I can understand that is because I also when we were all home together, was not feeling the best. And so I feel like my capacity to be calm around the kids was not there in the same way it usually is. So I was a little shorter with them. And even I sometimes was slipping into that logical thinking mindset, being like, what else could you need? You have every toy that you love to play with. It's all right there. Your whole family's here. We have nothing to do. Why are you following me around crying, wanting to be picked up?
Wanting to sit on your lap while you're on the toilet.
Yeah, literally. Like, why do you need to be on my lap when I'm on the toilet?
Our youngest really likes to do that. And they all did.
They all did. And I think that the other problem that I was having is like I was comparing our youngest to her older siblings, being like, they're not doing this. You're getting older. You shouldn't have to do this anymore. And I did really find there was a few times I had to be like, you're 3. I forget how little you are sometimes when you have an older sister who's almost 9.
I feel like we've discussed that a few times recently, where you feel like we have too high of expectations on our oldest versus the expectations we have on even our middle daughter, who's 3 years younger.
Yeah.
And I have to constantly reframe that to you, even.
That they're different ages, right?
Were we the same with our 5-year-old that we are with our
almost 9-year-old?
Yeah. At that age.
Yeah. So I think like to your, I love your like comment of done deal, like she's tired, whatever. But I think for a lot of people, including myself over the last couple of weeks, it's important to bring it back to like getting curious.
So is it maybe more of a signal that we're trying to understand then rather than a problem that we're trying to solve?
Yeah, it's like you're saying my book out loud. The book talks a lot about fixing and how it's not always the answer that we actually need to fix our child. Sometimes we just need to understand it, and then that can help us approach our child. So let's go straight back to your question. Why are kids so clingy sometimes? You already explained a few good things. So kids are clingy because they're tired. We definitely notice that in our kids when we've stayed up too late or they've been up too early.
Can we go even further though?
Oh, let's.
What is clinginess solving for the child?
Clingy.
So like if they are being clingy with you, yeah, of course, because they're sick, but what's the underlying reason for that then? Why is clinginess even something that exists in children at all?
That question is why I love you.
See, the engineering mindset comes into first principles.
First principles. I see clinginess for much more than just what's happening in that moment, right? Like when your child's that little caboose following you around. When they are clingy, their body is in a state of alarm. And there's many reasons why we'll talk about that. But that state of alarm is saying, I am not okay on my own right now. I need to get close to someone who's going to help me feel okay. And I feel frantic to get close to that person. So I'm seeking connection with them. I think that that is the underlying theme. And so whether that happens because they're tired or because they're hungry or because they're overstimulated, the clinginess is a call to say, I need you right now because my body is so alarmed or so frantic that I can't calm it down on my own. And I really believe that we've kind of lost seeing that. I lost seeing that when we were home with the kids, right? I was seeing it from my perspective as I'm overstimulated. I can't have you clinging and whining and crying and pulling on my shirt. I just can't handle it. So I'm only viewing it from my perspective, not her perspective, which is my body's so alarmed. I don't know what to do. I need you. You're my safe person to help me to figure this out, calm me down so that I can go play. So I think if you really want the core reason is that, but
is that the case though? Like, I just feel like we're sitting on the couch. You and the girls have been watching a movie because you're sick. I'm whatever in the kitchen cleaning up and doing whatever else, making you soup and all that when you're sick. And you get up to get a glass of water. Why would our toddler even be in a state of alarm at that point? Because it's not like really anything's changed other than, hey, I'm going to go get a glass of water.
I think so, because again, look at the bigger picture. In that moment, she has witnessed me being sick, let's say. We all had influenza, just to share that beautiful visual with you all. It was not beautiful. Let's just say that much.
No, it was not.
We all had influenza. This is why we were home.
Me.
Except for Scott, who took care of us, which was absolutely lovely. Anyway, she saw me sick. She notices, she can tune into my mood, that I'm not in a happy mood. I'm not my normal self. And that immediately is going to put a small toddler into a state of alarm, right? Because, wait.
So they're seeing you.
She's feeding off my energy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, like imagine I'm going to get a cup of water. I basically look like the Grim Reaper, like the blanket over my head, stumbling to get a cup of water because I'm like can barely do it without coughing. So it's not just me getting off the couch, right? And I think that a very similar parallel is when you're in a bad mood as a parent, right? So you're like, you're fine. Everything's fine. Well, everything's not fine. The person I love most is in a really bad mood. I can't, as a 3-year-old, understand if that's something I did, if you're in a bad mood because something else. But all I can feel in my body is that means the whole mood in the house is off. And if I follow you around and I stay close to you, maybe things will change, but I need to know that we're okay. So I do think even simple interactions like that have to do with the relationship.
That makes sense. I guess I didn't really think of it from that perspective where, I mean, you even talk about we as the parents, the caregivers are the external brain for them. So if they're seeing that we're not behaving normally how we would in everyday life, then that would kind of put them into a different state themselves.
Exactly. And that the clinginess is basically, are we okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I need us to be okay in that situation. So that's like your answer to the deeper question. I think the deeper question is this like frantically seeking the relationship to make sure that you're okay or to make sure that they can get their needs met by you, right? So then if you go, that's the deepest level, then you go the one step up, which is your child's going to be more clingy when they're hungry. Okay, who's going to feed me? My caregiver. So I'm going to be clingy to them. Our 3-year-old definitely gets more clingy when she's hungry. Mm-hmm. It is like...
Yeah, more so than
I've
the other two, for
never seen
sure.
hangry in the way I've seen it in her.
Yeah.
And probably I've learned that about myself and you also. So she comes by it honestly, but...
I feel like I don't.
You don't get hangry?
Most days I don't even eat until dinner. I'm too busy.
Does that mean that...
True. Oh,
does that mean you don't get hangry? I feel like you get home from work and it's like until you sit there and eat. I don't know. That's why we make sure we have food on the table. But same, literally. Even I was on vacation with my mom and brother and sister-in-law, and I was just in a bit of a bad mood. And they realized I hadn't eaten all day, and they're like, "Okay, Jess, we're stopping here, and you're eating something." And I literally this was Italy, had a delicious bowl of gluten-free pasta, so good, I can still like taste it. And I was basically like dancing through the streets after, and then I was like, "Why do I feel so much better? Oh yeah, I had food." Anyway, so hunger, I think, is actually one that we often don't notice, but it's okay to just give your child some food. Even if it's not like dinner time yet, sometimes they just need that to get through.
Yeah, we've noticed that after school,
we
typically give them a pretty big snack, which means they eat less dinner, but otherwise they are super grouchy.
Right. So I think sometimes too, like you can have rules like, oh, we're not having food till dinner, but your rule might actually be contributing to your child's like clinginess, grumpiness, tantrums, whatever it is. So sometimes you just have to like notice that and ask yourself, okay, does this rule actually make sense for a 3-year-old? Maybe they do need a healthy, big after-school snack, like do cheese and veggies and hummus or whatever. And then they have less at dinner, but now they're happier for the rest of the afternoon. I don't know. So hunger, tired. So you will notice that your child's more clingy when they're tired. Again, similar reason, right? Their body is just all out of whack. They're feeling alarmed. They're feeling exhausted and they want comfort. Who's you? You're going to notice more clinginess when there's something off. So for example, you're fighting with your partner. You're in a bad mood as a parent. I notice and it's so hard because the days where, let's say when I was sick and I was in a bad mood because I was sick, the days when you're in the worst mood are the days when your child clings the most.
Yeah.
And I hear that from parents all the time. They're like, Jess, I'm in such a bad mood. I'm having a hard time regulating myself. So why do they have to hang on to my leg all day? Like, go play. Well, your child's doing that because their whole world exists within relationship with you. So if you're in a bad mood, it puts their whole world into like this uneasy state, right? And in their own way, they're trying to make things better. But all they know is to like cling and cry and whine and stay close to you.
Right.
So it's just, that's important to note. And I find that that helps me.
To be honest, I feel like that's going to be a good reminder for me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, logically, that makes sense now that I understand this, but I don't think I've ever put that together. The days where I'm the most grumpy or you are, they will tend to cling to you more and need more from you, more as like they want to see a sign of, hey, we're okay and things are normal.
Right. But then you interpret that as a parent of like, I can't deal with this today, guys. Chill out. That's a quote from me last week.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, we have a slightly different situation. I mean, we were off for the holidays, so then I was just like, you go to bed, I'll take care of them. And then they know they can't go into your bedroom.
And that's where you need, well, like, let's talk about this after, but that's where you do need each other and that village of support and those other attachment figures to come in to take over on those days where you just can't, right? Okay, so let's talk about other reasons. We've talked about hunger, being tired, seeking connection because something's off in the home, which I think is a really big one. I also think clinginess can be something that's happened for your child. So I think if we go a little bit older even, like there's something they're scared about. Even with our 3.5-year-old, we saw that. She was scared to go back to school. She was nervous.
Yep.
And the day before and that night, all night, she wanted me in her bed. All of a sudden, she's clingy. And she was just kind of being off. Like, I don't know, she's like making kitty cat noises. And
Yeah, she's not behaving like she normally would.
she's not acting in general like normal. And you're like, what the heck is happening? Like, it's just a normal Sunday at home. I don't get it. And then when you get curious, you're like, oh, you're nervous to go back to school tomorrow. It's been a few weeks since you've been to school. That makes a lot of sense. So sometimes they're scared and we're only seeing the clinginess, but if you really get curious, there's something else going on underneath that. Sometimes they want something and they don't know how to communicate that with you. Like they want a toy or they want to go out with a friend or they want something. They maybe aren't communicating it with you, but they're like trying to stay close to you, maybe hoping that you'll kind of figure it out in a way. I feel like I've seen that maybe more so in our middle daughter. She'll like want something that one of her other siblings has, but she won't necessarily want to say it. She'll want me to understand it.
I feel like the youngest does that a lot too.
Yeah, actually the youngest does
She
do
did that a lot
lot.
over the holidays. I
Yeah.
mean, again, she was sick, so that she wasn't normal way she would act. But yeah, a lot of times she would wanted something and would just point and grunt and not actually say anything, expecting us to understand and clinging to us and crying.
And again, these are all signs of alarm. Like your child's body is just not in its normal state where it's calm, it's regulated. Your child's body is frantic, and that's why they're staying close to you. So I think all of these reasons really are just a call to tune in. Like back to your question about fixing, is the answer we must fix the whining by saying this one script when they're clinging and whining? No, it's to tune in and be like, can I look at the bigger picture here? Why is this happening? And I think a lot of times when we can understand why, our solutions just start to come to us, right?
So in this situation, let's say with our youngest being in this state of alarm with you being sick, how would you handle that differently then compared to how you did?
I don't think I handled it great. That's just the honest
I mean, you
truth.
were pretty ill.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a lot of compassion for myself, but I do want to be honest that I was a bit grumpy with the kids for probably a week and a half when I wasn't feeling that good.
It wasn't that long.
I felt that even when I felt better, and I think this is the problem, like I felt better and then all of a sudden it was Christmas, right? And I know the holidays are over, but this is true for any time of the year, right? I felt better and then all of a sudden life picked straight back up. And I never had time to like recover, repair with the kids and our family after this like period of basically being in bed with influenza for 5 or 6 days. So then I think even that, like we never talked about what it was like when I was sick. And am I better now? Or am I going to get that sick again? How did you feel when mom was laying in bed for 6 days and couldn't talk to you? And
Right, but is a 3-year-old going to understand that stuff?
I think she would understand it more than you think.
Okay.
Let's talk about it tonight with her. See
Yeah,
if she
we'll try
remembers.
that. We'll try that tonight.
Because I do think that after, and I mean, we're picking on being sick a lot, which I know, like, I asked the Nurture First followers, and it was like, whatever, crazy percentage of people have been extremely ill. So I know that's relatable. Yeah. But you can kind of think of like any period of like upset or something's like disrupted the flow in your house. Like I think about the times I was pregnant and morning sick. Like that's another good example. Or when we lost my grandmothers and we were grieving and we were sad. Like anytime something big has happened in the house, the kids pick up on that and they all of a sudden start clinging and whining more.
I think we received probably 3 or 4 emails recently alone just on cleanliness in kids when they have a new sibling entering the family too.
Or that you have a new baby. Like, oh my goodness. I remember when we had our third, I was like, I can't deal. The baby's fine. It's the older kids I can't deal with right now because they were so clingy and needed us so much. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was a huge transition for them. And they saw me in these vulnerable states and they're like, is my mommy going to be okay? That's the question, right? And so I think in hindsight, let's say with the illness, maybe you, being the healthy one, could have had a conversation with her. And maybe you did, being like, mommy's sick and she's going to get better. I mean, we hoped, but, she's going to get better. She's okay. She loves you. Like almost like a bridging of the separation. She's still in our house, but I'm taking care of you. And if you need anything, I'm here for you.
Right.
I was talking to a friend recently, like we forget how much they're picking up on and how much questions or concerns they might have on what we're privately dealing with or what we're going through. Right. So having the conversation, I think our daughter's 3.5. I think she actually would understand it more than we think she would.
I mean, again, that's great in the ideal world, especially if she's healthy, but she also wasn't either, right? So
yeah. And sometimes they're just going to cling and cry more, and that's just what it is.
Okay, but this brings up actually a really good point, something that I outlined. What about the fact that typically the younger two cling on to you? Mm-hmm. They're much less likely to cling on to me for anything, which I know kind of burns you out extra.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, go to your father.
Yeah, I mean, you would. And I think in general, it's probably, let's just say realistically, it's usually moms that are the ones that kids cling on to. How should, let's say, the preferred parent respond? And how should the other parent handle this? I mean, maybe originally I felt a little bit rejected, but I kind of get it now. So I don't feel that same way, but I know that it's pretty common to feel kind of rejected. It's like, hey, I'm here. I can help out. I can love you too. I can get what you need. I can get your snacks, but they only want mom to get their drink and their snack.
It's a big thing that comes up in therapy, actually, like in the work that I do with clients. Yeah, because there's always, like traditionally, I would say more often it is mom and then dad is the non-preferred parent. Yeah. So we'll just use that, but that's not always the case. I have had it where dad is the preferred parent, and that was very, very difficult on the mom because she was like, all my friends are the preferred parent. Like, what's so wrong with me that they don't want me? But I like to reframe it as it's more of your little children can only really think about one thing at a time, right? So their brain just kind of gets stuck. And so they might just be more used to, let's say me, taking care of them in those moments because originally maybe you were working outside of the home more, I was home more. It just became kind of like who they were used to. And it's not actually personal against you. It's just that their brain is stuck on only wanting mom. And it's very hard for them to hold two thoughts at the same time.
Do you think we ever had that with our oldest, though? Because I was traveling the most when she was young, but I still felt like she was probably more...
No. When she was really young, she wanted mommy.
I was traveling a lot, so then maybe I didn't experience that quite as much.
But I experienced it on the flip side with her, where she wants you. Because I think because the little two always want mommy, then the oldest has been like, okay, then I'll take dad.
I feel like it's been ever since we had our second that she definitely has preferred me.
Yeah. So anyway, but what I want parents to know is that that's just their brain being stuck. It's not that they like hate this other parent.
Yeah, right.
And so then we have to think about what gets kids' brains unstuck when they're like that. Typically playfulness is a really great way. And so being kind of silly with them. And the other thing is you have to be the leader. So your child doesn't get to call the shots on who takes care of them in terms of which parent. And if they do, it's always going to be the same parent. And what's going to happen, and what always happens in these situations, or often I should say, is that now mom gets super burnt out. And what I often see in couples and what I really have to help them with is the dad's like, well, they only want mom. So what am I going to do? I'm trash. And the mom goes, okay, so then you're on your phone scrolling on the couch while I'm dealing with all of our children who only want me. He's like, well, they don't want me. They tell me they don't want me. And then I have to come in and be like, that's not the point. Your children don't run the house.
Yeah, right.
Right? And if you want your children to eventually want to come to you, you actually have to step in and be like, I get you want mom. I love her too. She is the best. She gives good hugs and good snuggles. She's super good at comforting. And I'm going to comfort you too. So why don't you tell me about all the ways that you love how mommy comforts you as I go and take you to bed, or as we go play Lego together, as we go do this. And you really, as the non-preferred parent, have to put your ego aside and step in and be like, if I want them to eventually come to me, I'm going to have to show them that they can.
Yeah. I think this is funny because let's be real. We do kind of give in with our youngest.
Well, that's a whole other episode.
Especially when it comes to bedtime.
I know. That's our next episode. And the reason I wanted to do that episode or maybe it's
I guess it kind of is.
Giving in to tantrums.
Yeah.
So that's just a little teaser that we're going to do an episode on giving in because I needed to do that episode. So that one's coming down. So just stay tuned for that. And you can let us know if you can relate to that.
It's more our laziness,
Well, and also my heartbreak over my youngest child getting older.
Yeah.
So anywho. Hey friends, so at pickup last week, our daughter asked Scott a truly kind of tricky question in front of her younger siblings. Scott was telling me that when he heard a question like this, he used to panic, but this time he had a plan. And he said to our daughter, "Thank you for asking. Let's talk tonight when we've got privacy." And that's a line that he learned straight from our new body safety and consent course at Nurture First. So this new body safety and consent course is taught by me. So Jess, if you listen to this podcast, you know me. I'm a child therapist and a mom of 3, and I have taught body safety and consent education for years. This course takes all my years of experience teaching this education and gives you calm, age-appropriate language for body parts, consent, and boundaries. You'll learn how to teach your kids that no means no. You'll learn how to teach them to read facial cues. You'll talk about safe and unsafe touch, and you'll even teach them about their uh-oh feeling. There's guidance inside this course for the real life stuff, like tickling that goes too far, and even the difference between a secret and a surprise. We made this course at Nurture First because research shows that body safety education helps kids speak up sooner, and we want that for our family, for Scott and I, but also for you. So check the course out at nurturedfirst.com/bodysafety, and to save 10%, use the code ROBOTUNICORN. And just full disclosure here, we are the creators of this course, and we're so proud of it.
What happens when we understand the clinginess, so we understand where it comes from, all that, but are just completely depleted, like you were when you were sick? How do we actually hold our own boundaries without rejecting the child or sending a message that their needs are too much for us?
Yeah, it's such a good question.
It was very clear for us recently. Yeah.
Right? And I really think about myself when I was pregnant, morning sick, or having a new baby, and that clinginess would happen. And it's just like, I can't physically give myself any more to you. So I do think about the underlying reason being your child's body's like frantic. They want to know that they're okay. They want to know that you're okay. And so, especially as they get older, it's almost like bridging the separation between you and them, which is kind of my way of talking, but basically being like, how does your child know that they're safe and okay, and you are okay with them, and you will come and spend that time with them even when you can't in that exact moment? So where are those pieces of connection, right? So if I think about, let's say, being postpartum and you're breastfeeding and your toddler is just clinging and whining and crying to you, well, maybe they need to know when they're going to have you, and they need to know that you're okay, even though you're kind of crying and sitting on the couch feeding your baby and everything's tough, right? So maybe it's a simple conversation of like, hey, everything's changed. I feel that too. Change is tricky. I want you to know that I love you. Nothing has ever changed about my love for you. And right now I'm feeding the baby, but let's set a 15-minute timer, and in 15 minutes, we're going to color a book together or something like that, so that they know when they can expect time with you. And then allowing a bit of that discomfort at the same time. Like, it's okay for your child to be a little bit.
Yeah, I was just going to say that seems great in theory, but the reality is they're going to have a tantrum regardless.
Right. But do both. And then do the thing. Do the 15 minutes later where you color together, right? But then sometimes it means in that in-between time, they have to feel uncomfortable and be sad that they can't spend that time with you. And that's okay. And I teach clients all the time, like, tears are not the problem. They're often the solution, right? So sometimes they need to be sad about the fact that it's hard to wait for mom. And sometimes they need to have that tantrum in between. And eventually they won't always have that tantrum, right? But there are so many times that I'm sitting on the couch breastfeeding, feeling trapped underneath my baby, where the toddler's having a tantrum on the floor. And the best and only thing I can really do is be like, it's okay. Like, let it out. Let out your tears. This is tough for me too. I wish I could be right there beside you. I can't right now. And I still love you. And just allowing them to have that tantrum, and you're kind of offering your calm during it, knowing that eventually they will learn that everything is still okay. even if you're not with them right at that second.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I think it's both. It's allowing the discomfort, but also doing the coaching.
I feel like that comes with, it's probably a completely separate conversation, but that comes with a lot of discomfort in parents too. Because I feel like for me, whining and crying and clinging, it takes a lot for me to not get incredibly annoyed.
Well, and I think we've had a conversation specifically on whining before, where we talked about like the pitch of whining and how it's like meant to like activate you as a parent. But I think the clinging especially, it's really hard and frustrating. And I think really for me, I have to remember their littleness and remember that like this is a call not to fix or put out some fire, but to just like tune in and
they're trying to be physically close to you so that they can be safe.
And sometimes there's pieces too of like, how can I offer some physical closeness to them? Like, can I just give them like a really giant bear hug until they let go first? Can I, like, as I'm walking by, just kiss their little heads? Like, is there little ways that maybe you could actually add in a little bit more physical closeness to them throughout the day so that that need is met before they're asking? I always think about that. Anticipate the need before. And if I can do that, which I can't always, it does help.
Okay, I think we'll end on this. Is there ever a point, or I guess a better question is, how would parents distinguish between what is developmentally normal clinginess and something that might be a concern, or more of like a learned behavior or something like, I don't know. At what point do you kind of stop to think, this is actually more of a concern than just a developmentally normal reaction for them to have to the situation?
So first off, we haven't talked a lot about this, but I do think just to reiterate, it is okay to set some boundaries. Like just because your child's clingy doesn't mean you have to carry them around all day. Part of it is allowing them to feel discomfort at times, but also having those bridges. Okay. So just clarifying that. I would see clinginess as a problem if it's your child's getting older, let's say, and you're out of that big change or transition or whatever's happening. And you've kind of gone through that checklist of all the reasons why kids are clingy and whiny, and they're still clingy and whiny like every single day. And you're noticing it's like impacting their ability to feel confident or to go out and do things. And every time you go anywhere, they just cling and cry and whine, but they don't eventually go off and feel comfortable doing things, right? They just only will be on your lap. They won't go to school. Even you're trying all these other strategies and they still won't do it. To me, sometimes that can become a sign of there's a bit of an anxious attachment there. There's some anxiety in the child that we're not quite understanding. Maybe there's something going on in the home or something even within the child that we're not quite understanding, and there's a missing piece. And I would say I specifically see that more when kids are approaching like that school age, like 5, 6, 7, and they still are clinging, crying to their parent without ever kind of feeling that comfort to eventually go and do things on their own.
Right.
And I think an episode that maybe would be helpful for those parents, I might look at we've done some episodes on worry and anxiety. I might then listen to those episodes. I think that could be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
So is there any one last piece of advice you want to give parents who are dealing with this?
I think yes. I think the last piece of advice I want to give is for the parent who is really overwhelmed. And I did promise that we'd come back to this. But who do you turn to when you're so depleted and your child just needs you and you feel like you have nothing left to give to them? Of course, you can do all the things that we talked about today, but who do you turn to for you to depend on, right? Because I know, let's say when I was sick, my one saving grace was that I could talk to you and you could eventually like take over or just say, hey, Jess, just go take a nap. I've got this. And it really reminded me of how much we need to depend on someone else, right? And you joked about me being clingy and whiny to you. I kind of was. Like, it was kind of like, when I was sick at least, it was kind of like
That's why I was joking about it.
This chain reaction of like, I'm being needed and now I need someone that I can depend on.
Right.
And also to know that it's okay for your child to have more than one person that they're attached to and they can depend on. And even if it's not you and you're like, oh, they only want me, but you know that your parent, let's say, is very safe and loving and truly cares about your child, like it's okay for them to step in and babysit your child while you go take a nap or get the break that you need or spend time with your baby or whatever it is. So I really think too is like sometimes we cannot handle the clinging, crying and whining because we need someone to cling and cry and whine to, and we need that. So who are those people for you? And I think finding that village, whether that's friends or parents or other relatives or siblings or whatever it is, we need that support too, and parents need that support. And if you don't have that support and it's really hard, I just want to say it makes sense.
Yep.
That's, I think, where I want to end it today.
Sounds great.
Well, we will talk to you all very soon. We've given you a little teaser for what might be coming down next. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for the conversation.
Hey friends, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We are glad that you are here. If you enjoyed today's episode and found it interesting, we'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a rating and a review. Scott and I actually sit down together and read them all. A 5-star rating helps us share our podcast and get these important messages out there. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to talk to you again next time.